With the incoming true freshman now officially enrolled at the university, it's time for another West Virginia football roster update here on the Country Roads webcast. Let's go. What's going on, Mountaineer Nation? Jordan Cruz back here with the Country Roads webcast. And before I get into this video, I just want to give you guys a quick reminder. If you would do us a favor, hit that thumbs up button, give us a like on this video. It would really help not only this video's performance, but future videos performances here on the channel. And if you're a WVU fan or a college football fan in general for that matter, please go ahead, do us one more favor, hit that subscribe button. It's fast, easy, and free to do, and it helps us and it helps you as it helps get more of this Mountaineer sports content out to Mountaineer Nation. Having said that, let's get into it. All right, so as I mentioned in the cold open to this video, the incoming true freshmen for this upcoming 2023 West Virginia football season have now all officially enrolled as detailed in this article by our friends over at WVSportsNow.com. This article written by Mike Ostie that I'm showing here on the screen, which informs Mountaineer Nation that most of the true freshmen are now officially on campus, as are the transfers. So that, of course, provided the impetus for another roster update from us here on the Country Roads webcast. Been a while since we've done one here on the channel, but this will, of course, be our June 12th roster update here on the Country Roads webcast YouTube channel, trying to continue to update this throughout the off season. Looks like this will be the final one in terms of additions, as we now only have a couple more left to add. So once both of those are added, we'll do another update for those additions. But in regards to that, the further updates will just be to kind of move positions around once we learn who's playing where once fall camp gets started. So probably only about a handful or so of roster update videos left from us here on the Country Roads webcast, with, of course, the final one will be coming there the week of fall camp. But we do now have these true freshmen coming onto campus for the Mountaineers. So let's take a look at our running roster here on the Country Roads webcast, in which we've added these true freshmen as we continue to try and cover this as it takes shape here on the Country Roads webcast here with our June 12th roster update. All right, so if you've been following along throughout the offseason, you know we've been trying to update this roster throughout the offseason's progression as transfers have been added, freshmen have been added, and now a big batch of both of those have now officially enrolled at the university. So we felt it was the right time to add them to our running roster here on the Country Roads webcast, which if you haven't seen any of our prior updates, go back, check those out. There's a playlist here on the channel. I've got them titled with the date, as you'll see this one titled with the June 12th date. So you can go back to the beginning and kind of follow the roster as it's developed. And like I said, we'll continue to release these with the final one probably coming game week there with game one of the 2023 season. But in regards to these rosters, they will only include scholarship players, so any preferred walk-ons that West Virginia may have added you will not see here, despite the fact that some of those may contribute this upcoming season and who knows, may earn a scholarship in the future. But for now, just for our purposes, to kind of keep this more brief, we will only include the scholarship players here on our running roster on the Country Roads webcast as we continue to try and update this West Virginia roster. And in doing so, we can now add a large batch of true freshmen that have now officially enrolled here in June, getting ready to go through summer workouts and head into fall camp. The first one of those that we'll run into will be running back DJ Oliver, joining the West Virginia roster as a true freshman, joining that deep West Virginia running back room. And he's a guy that has similar size. I've compared him to Jalen Anderson and CJ Donaldson, kind of that type of body, that type of frame. But I think that he's even faster than both of those guys. Really athletic to have that type of size. So excited about his future. And the freshman running back class is really exciting this year, as we've already seen Jaheim White, who enrolled early, have the leading rushing performance in the spring game for West Virginia and break off some big runs, kind of has some home run capability. So I think DJ Oliver will excite West Virginia fans in the future as well. Then moving right along, of course, and probably the addition that West Virginia is most excited to talk about now that we can officially add to the roster finally is Rodney Gallagher, the highest rated recruit in this recruiting class, one of the highest rated recruits West Virginia has ever signed. I believe he's top 10 in program history there as far as that's concerned. But for now, I'm going to factor him in at the wide receiver position. I definitely think he'll have a chance to play in the slot for the Mountaineers, and whether he ends up earning a starting spot or not is yet to be seen. like I said, try and temper expectations for someone as a true freshman. But if anyone can do it, it's certainly Gallagher. And even if he doesn't end up starting, I think that they will certainly have packages for him and plays designed to where they will have ways to get Rodney Gallagher involved in the offense as a true freshman. For now, we got him at the wide receiver position, but could factor in at the H. Like I said, some of these will be subject to change once we get into fall camp and learn where each of these new players, whether it be transfers or one of these incoming freshmen, factor in. And speaking of those incoming freshmen, we have another, and this one's a legacy player in Noah Braham, the son of the former offensive lineman, one of West Virginia's greatest there along the offensive line, and Rich Braham. Noah Braham actually listed as an athlete on some services, could play offense, could play defense. I think he'll be a tight end / fullback, and West Virginia has some fullbacks listed on the roster, and a lot of their tight ends are actually listed as tight ends / fullbacks now. We saw Colin McBee listed at that position. West Virginia brought in a preferred walk-on from Towson, an FCS All-American, and Luke Hamilton that's more of a fullback type. So Noah Braham could join those more style bodies, but either way, he's going to play a part in the future of West Virginia as we see a ton of these tight end fullback type bodies on the West Virginia roster, and Noah Braham's one that will play a part there in the future of West Virginia football, and a legacy player. You love to see that come to Morgantown. So Noah Braham, another freshman that joins the roster now. Moving right along to the offensive line now, where we have another true freshman in Cooper Young that will probably be an interior offensive lineman for the Mountaineers. I have him listed at right guard currently. We'll see where he factors in. And West Virginia also added another true freshman in Nick Cray. I currently have him at right tackle. I think he factors in more as a tackle throughout his career, more on the outside for West Virginia. But like I said, a lot of these subject to change, and that's why we're going to continue to update this roster with dates included. Today's our June 12th update, but we'll continue to update this throughout fall camp as we learn more about who factors in where. Continuing along now, flipping over to the other side on the defensive line, we can now add Zachariah Keith, who I believe will be a defensive end for the West Virginia football team there as a true freshman. And then one more freshman defensive lineman. It's another legacy player we can talk about in Corey McIntyre Jr. I know there was some doubt about him ultimately joining the Mountaineers, kind of a late addition following the early signing day. Didn't get to come on until the actual February signing period, but did ultimately end up joining West Virginia. We know his father, a great legacy player for the Mountaineers, spent a lot of time in the NFL at the fullback position. Corey McIntyre could have played offense or defense, but believe that he will be a defensive line at West Virginia starting out here. We're going to put him at the nose tackle position there as a true freshman. And then moving along, another true freshman you'll see here. I've got him currently listed as a bandit, but who knows, he may end up being a defensive end further on in his career. But due to his size currently, I believe he's 6'6", but only 215, so going to need to put some weight on. But because of that frame, I think West Virginia could try to develop him into a bandit. So for now, we'll put Orion Fisher, another true freshman that's joined the West Virginia roster, at the bandit position. As we scroll through here to our next freshman that's joined the roster, and it's at the defensive back position, and that's Jordan Jackson, whose twin brother Josiah Jackson was actually an early enrollee, spent the spring with West Virginia. Both of those guys believed to play the cornerback position for the Mountaineers in the future, so now both of those guys are on campus. And then lastly, the addition of Aiden Nelson to the safety position, got him at free safety currently. We will see where he factors in moving forward, but that's kind of a look at the West Virginia roster as I'll slowly scroll back through it for you to kind of get a brief look at each position if you haven't got a chance to follow along our previous updates here on the Country Roads webcast in terms of the West Virginia roster. You can kind of see how it's shaping up currently as we're heading through the summer and getting closer and closer to fall camp beginning, where we'll have further roster updates once a lot of these positions are solidified, and then we'll start having depth chart updates, of course, once the season gets underway. But for now, a lot of freshmen enrolled, which of course led to probably our most extensive roster update here on the Country Roads webcast with our June 12th WVU football roster update. So there you have it, Mountaineer Nation, a very large roster update here for our June 12th edition on the Country Roads webcast. But with this update, I can now tell you that all of West Virginia's incoming players have been added to the roster, save for one true freshman and one transfer. The true freshman being Traylon Ray, the 4-star wide receiver. We're still waiting to see him join the Mountaineers. And then Anthony Wilson, the transfer safety from Georgia Southern. Still waiting to see him join the WVU team as well. Once both those are added, we will update the roster further here on the Country Roads webcast with their additions. Fingers crossed both of those come soon, as I think that they are big pieces to the future of West Virginia football, specifically Anthony Wilson. When we're talking this upcoming season, he's one of my favorite transfers that West Virginia was able to add. So we'll be excited to add him to the roster. But for now, what do you think of the pieces and the players that we have been able to add to the West Virginia roster with this June 12th update? I know Rodney Gallagher is probably the standout, but whether it's him or another Mountaineer, who are you most excited to see finally added to the West Virginia roster here on the Country Roads webcast with this June 12th update? Be sure to let us know your thoughts down there in the comments. We really appreciate the interactions as we continue to try and grow the Country Roads webcast community throughout Mountaineer Nation. Having said that, as always, I'm Jordan Cruz, and until next time, let's go, Mountaineers.